happily ever after. Each of us has a...
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
The magic is calling, calling, calling us. It's calling, calling, calling us to the place where all of our dreams come true. The most magical place on earth. Answer the Feel the magic everywhere. Bring every dream we dream to life. Share the wonder, share the light. Oh, imagine a world for you and me. Where all that we have to do is believe. The magic is calling, calling, calling us. It's calling, calling, calling us to the place where all of our dreams come true. The most magical place on earth. Answer the The magic is calling, calling, calling us. It's calling, calling, calling us to the place where all of our dreams come true. The most magical place on earth. Magical place on earth. Magical place on
Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday preface. You know, it says Tuesday night shows that we love to do before our Wednesday night midweek interviews. It is Celebrating the Arts one night only with another accomplished Disney magic delivering person. It's going to be accomplished author Aaron H. Goldberg tonight. I can't wait to sit down and for you to get to know somebody so special as this gentleman and the magic that he brings. So welcome in, share it out, everybody, no matter where you're at. Let everybody know you're going to be hanging with us. Let's get this opening done so we can get into my guest. I'm excited to let everybody know, hang and say thank you to my partner channels for supporting everything we do here on the network. Very proud to be partnering with all of these great people. I thank our chaotic crusaders that support our channel more than you know and help deliver the magic that we bring to you. Thank you to everyone you see on the screen tonight. Our executive producers, they're absolutely killing it. Bring you all kind of magic from as far away as Paris, as close as Florida, and all the way out there on the West Coast. We're so proud to have executive producers all around the globe killing our content, and we're very excited that they are able to do what they do and help us, because the magic doesn't happen without that.
The official Disney-related news service and partner of the Pete McDevitt Show is Chip & Company. You can find this trusted source at chipandco.com or on many social media outlets including YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
But tonight is one night only with Aaron H. Goldberg, and I am incredibly excited to sit down. But let me highlight who's coming up in the next couple weeks, and then we're going to get to our guest. Coming up in the near future, Michael Provenza, one of Disney's fine art. Oh God, this gentleman, he can absolutely touch it up when he puts a brush in his hand. Christopher E. Smith, incredibly respected, much like Aaron, an author in the Disney community, will be joining us. Can't wait for that. David Perillo, featured down at the Festival of the Arts, an amazing artist, does a great job. Jim Fanning's coming. He's a great author, writer, researcher, consultant, does a great job. He'll be joining us here on the channel. RC, internationally known and respected and honored by Disney as a street artist. He's going to be joining us here real soon. Zach Zadelis is coming up. I can't wait for Zach. And we just booked, just the other day, Stephen M. Barrett is going to be joining us. You want to find hidden Mickeys? Stephen knows the way to find those hidden Mickeys right here in Disney, all over the parks. It's our Tuesday editions of One Night Only, Celebrating the Arts. and we're excited that you're joining us. So let's talk about our guest tonight. My guest is a best-selling and award-winning author whose knowledge of Disney is rivaled by few. A recipient of the Beverly Hills Book Award, the Reader's Favorite Book Award, the Next Generation Indie Book Awards in 2020, and the Ben Franklin Award from the Independent Book Publishers Association are just a few of his accomplishments. Aaron has been featured by the Los Angeles Times, CNN, the San Francisco Chronicle, along with Disney media outlets, including Inside the Imagineering, the FP Network, the Diz, and the Laughing Place, just to name a few. His best-selling literary efforts are found on all major resources like Amazon, Walmart, Target, Barnes & Noble, Audible, and BAM Books A Million. A proud graduate of the University of Penn with a bachelor's and master's degree in anthropology, he joins us for the first time tonight on our show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in Aaron to the show. Aaron, good to see you.
Hey, Pete.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
That
Thank you
was
for being here.
that was quite an introduction. I don't, I was actually going to say to you, I'm glad I'm coming on when I am because your lineup in the next few weeks. I don't know if I'd want to follow those people. I don't know if I'd want to be after, the crew you have coming on. This is good stuff. I'm excited.
Well, you definitely have earned the right to be within that mix, and I'm proud that you're taking the time with us tonight. It's a blessing when we can bring the magic of creators like yourself and them in so many different unique facets to so many here, and I'm excited to do it. Real quick, just to welcome in Nicole, FBE's in the house. Cricket, Jeannie, welcome in. Good to see you. The Fanatics are here. Welcome in. Good to see you here. I saw Chip & Co., our partner channel, and for news media outlets, they are in here tonight. JC, Skipper, Brian, Patrick Belt, Damaris, welcome in. Samantha, welcome in. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. If I did, I will make sure that I highlight along the way and say hello to you. And let's start it off with just a general, share a little bit for somebody that might be meeting you for the first time here tonight. Kind of like if we were at a cocktail party and just a simple introduction.
All right. So I'm Aaron H. Goldberg. As Pete mentioned, I wrote a few books about Disney here. My background is actually in anthropology, a bachelor's and a master's in anthropology. So what do you do with 2 degrees in anthropology and you want to make money? Nothing in anthropology. So here we are. So here we are. 10, 12 years later, I wrote a bunch of books and sort of pursuing my passion here with Disney.
Love it. I absolutely love it. So as we dig in, we're going to first start. Kind of want to talk, I guess, about the the most recent book, which, by the way, Aaron sent me a copy. I should share this with everybody. This was really cool. My wife grabbed it before I could, to be honest with you, because I always have her help me with my mail. And she saw this and she says, "Oh no, I'm taking." She's already read most of it. This is a copy of one of his books, which we're going to talk about tonight in full. I just want to share with her. This is this book is incredible. I've only gotten
Thank you.
a third of the way through it since the wife had it half the time. She loved it. She's already told her mom that the minute that we're done and I'm done reading it, she wants to send it over to her to read. So we're going to talk about that. So let's dig in first and talk about this book, Buying Disney's World. I guess the highlights that I can throw out there before we dig into it is that some of the quotes about this book were impressive. George Taylor with Imaginerding.com said, "The book is one of the best titles I've read in Disney World history." History, ladies and gentlemen. That's a quote. This book, weaves a true story
Crazy.
of intrigue and suspense in buying Disney's world as he explains how Walt Disney's vision took shape. Aaron, with hearing those things, tell us a little bit about this book and how you came to fruition with it.
So this is something I've been wanting to write about for quite some time. The University of Central Florida has an archive of Robert Foster. So Robert Foster was the attorney who worked for Disney, who basically went around and bought up all the land. So when Foster retired, and he stayed with the company for decades after, when he retired, he left basically all of his paperwork and everything, his life's work with Disney to UCF, to University of Central Florida. So I went into the archives a bunch of years ago, took copious notes and pictures, you name it. And it was one of those things that it was so daunting to me in my mind to actually sit down and write. How am I going to do this? There's so much. There was so much content that I sifted through his work. And basically what happened was COVID hit. and we were all stuck in our house. And I said, you know what? I'm actually finally going to sit down and I'm gonna write this book. So that's basically how it got started, how it came to be. And I always thought that there's a ton of books on Disney World out there. There's a ton of books on Walt. There's a ton of books on Disneyland. But I always felt there was this little missing piece of, yeah, Disney, their PR crew, they always released, yeah, we covertly bought the land and we had fake, dummy corporations, I-4 and Latin American Development. We know like the little tease there of what they did and how they did it. But there really wasn't the complete story out there. And I really wanted to fill that piece of the puzzle and get that piece in there and get it out to the world of how they actually did it day in and day out, the details of the whole project. It was so massive and so covert and done so well that I really it was an honor for me to see Robert Foster's papers, and then to be able to whip it all together and make actually a story out of it. Was what I set out to do, and I hopefully I achieved it.
I absolutely.
I think I did.
I think you did as well. I'm a third of the way through, and I can't get enough. I've been reading it every day for the last 4 days since my wife gave it back to me. I want to welcome in Hart Disney, who threw out a nice compliment there. Amazing book. Also want to welcome Gene
Thank you.
Fitzpatrick. You did a great interview over with Gene at the FB
I love Gene.
Network.
Yep.
People can also check out. I highly encourage any of my moderators are welcome to drop that link into the chat as well. The network is killed. Welcome in Eric Lee as well. If you're new to me tonight, I will be interviewing incredible people like my friend Aaron here today on this channel. Hit that subscribe, stay around, come back and join us. For all of Aaron's stuff, I'll be reminding everybody throughout the chat, whether you're watching live or in the replay, guess what? In the description of the video is every one of Aaron's social media links, including a direct link to every book he has on Amazon. You go right there, click it, and you can buy it in seconds. While you're listening to the interview, you can buy the book and have it already being shipped to your house. 184 pages over here with this book. As you sat down, and I love the concept and the thought, what did you find to be your toughest avenue as you sat to put this book together? Every author I've talked to says each book has a speed bump. Where was your speed bump?
That's a great question. I wanted to end the book with basically, I could have went further into it, but I wanted to end with basically Roy passing away, because without Roy it doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
So I thought it should end in 71. There was more to tell about the story, but I really wanted to capture the basically from 3.
I'm losing you for a hair there, Aaron. I don't know if it's your internet or mine. Well, hang tight, everybody, because I don't know if it's you. It doesn't look like it's YouTube, because we look like we're clear over here. I think it's Aaron's internet there. We'll have to hang tight and just wait for him to come in. While we're doing it, we'll say hello to everybody in the chat. FPE's in the chat. Jesse's in the chat. Nicole's in the chat. He is having issues. Yes, he is. It's okay. It's the internet. It happens. We'll bring him up here. He'll come back in just a second. Gives me a chance to hang with you guys. Hey, if you're brand new and coming in and hanging us with us while we're waiting for this incredible individual to come back, hit that subscribe today. Join our Discord. We've got a community Discord. My moderators can drop the link where you can go in and talk Disney, talk the magic, talk about the parks. You can talk it all over on our Discord. It works. We'd love for you to do that as well. Let's see if his signal is coming back up. He is not coming back up yet. I thought he was going to come right back in here. So we will hang tight and wait and see what happens here. We'll get there, everybody. We'll get there. Just gives us more time together. That's a good thing. His picture is not coming up. Aaron, can we hear you? No, his whatever his internet is preventing him from linking right now. Aaron does. Gene put up a great thing. Aaron does know so much Disney history. He definitely knows it all. And, things happen with the internet. It gets crazy. YouTube's been ridiculous recently, and we've dealt with it. So it is what it is. It is what it is. There's Hart Disney. Let's bring up Hart Disney there. It says, hey, let's see. I'm a first-time viewer. I'm so glad it's with Aaron H. Goldberg. I'm a huge fan of his book. It's awesome. Hart Disney, if you don't mind, share with me just your first name. I would love to say hello in your first name. over there. We do have the Discord. Jesse just dropped it in. I love the fact that we have that. We share out all kinds of magic over there. Aaron's book here is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. While we're waiting for him to come back, I tell you what, give you a little insight here into the book here on this one that we're talking. I'm so proud that he sent me this one and signed it. Love his writing style and the way he shares Disney knowledge, iHeart says. Let me just read you something here while we're waiting for Aaron to click back in here. First off, I thought this was incredible that he detailed this book for his late mother, Susan, and he honored his mom, which I think is pretty cool. So when you get here, I just want to touch on the introduction here. The introduction, he really talks about Roy O. Disney and how he went about that night when it was opening up Walt Disney after everything had happened with his brother. And I thought this was pretty incredible. And I just wanted to read this. This is the quote that's out there from Roy that starts off Aaron's book. And this is amazing. He says, "To the cast on the eve of Walt Disney World's opening day, may I thank all of you for your spirit, your cooperation, and the fine job all of you have done in getting ready for our opening. Years of planning and long hours of work have brought about this historic moment. It will be an experience none of us will forget. At this time, I think it is appropriate that we remember Walt's comment." I'm getting chills just thinking about Walt. Your name is Paulina. Welcome in, Paulina. It's nice to meet you. Walt's comment, "You can dream, design, and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it requires people to make the dream a reality. You, the cast, are responsible for making Walt's dreams come true yesterday, today, and tomorrow." I'm getting goosebumps. I'm reading Aaron's transition here of Roy's comment the night before Walt Disney opened. It's how he opens up his book. Welcome in, Debbie. We're waiting for our friend to come back in. Having a little internet trouble. We'll have him back in just a minute. It's pretty amazing that that's the way that this book starts out, Buying Disney's World. That's a book we have featured up there on the screen. It's an incredible accomplishment. And, it starts right there from where he goes. And I'll just read you while we're waiting here. I want to read you just real quick the first, 2 sentences of Aaron's book. It'll give you a taste of how great his writing is. On the evening, this is Aaron's words now. On the evening before Walt Disney World opened, Roy O. Disney's words above, along with the words from his younger brother, Walt, illustrated the Disney brothers' appreciation and recognition for their employees during the company's grandest and most challenging project to date. Although at times the brothers were difficult to work for, Walt was perhaps the most of the ardent taskmaster, Roy, but both of them exuberated a tremendous talent. That's incredible when you think about how Aaron's telling the story. Aaron, while you were working with the internet, I hope you're okay. I read the introduction to the book. I shared with everybody how you shared Roy's words the night before the opening. As you looked at that, I want to go back to the speed bump thing in a second. But as you with that, I got to touch on that right now because I just hit it. How impactful was that as you're putting this together to read Roy's words, quoting Walt's words to start your book and to open that park? That's amazing. How impactful was that to you?
It's huge. I mean, it's so. I figured what better way to open up the book is to read those words. You're talking about a guy who was sort of older, obviously in his 70s, and here he is. As the project comes along, he's hands on. He was in there. The day before opening. The park was to open. That he was out there. Unloading trucks, throwing sod on the ground. Like it's insane. I mean, the two brothers were just obviously. We know their history and what they did, but to think about what the company is today and what it was. It was a family business back then. I mean, it was a huge family business, a highly successful, and they had their hands in everything. But they were there. They were on the front lines there, so to speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. So right before we had the little bit of the challenge, I brought up the question of the speed bump, which I guess that was a perfect timing for that question.
If we hit a speed bump,
you can't. The internet is what it is. We all work with it. what was the biggest speed bump you found when writing this book?
So it was the opening and it was the opening and the closing. I mean, that really
Okay.
was how to open the book. How do I set the stage and get everything to, how do we get to Florida? So I didn't want to retell stories that, other folks have already read and, about Disneyland and how we got. So it was hard to know when to begin, how far back do we go? And then there were little twists and little, tidbits of things that are interesting that, Walt had family an hour north of Orlando. So, and he would visit Walt, and Roy and Walt would visit as kids. His grandparents that are buried an hour away.
Really?
So, that's something that's, yeah, I mean, so that's something that I thought was an interesting caveat to the whole story as well. But it
Absolutely.
was really, how do I start it and how do I end it? Because Robert Foster's notes were great for the actual buying process and what he went through. But that was his only gig. Like, that was what he was doing. So I had to create the story before and create the story after and sort of make it all meld together.
From putting together this book, let me ask you this question. I've never asked this of anybody before. I should throw this down here. I just finished reading Disney Declassified, the Disney story. We'll talk about that. I'm a given fan of Aaron's books. Patty Puddle says, "Thank you, Patty. We appreciate that." Norman Potter
Wonderful.
getting a lot of nice compliments along the way. Norman Potter saying, "Hey, fantastic."
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. Let me ask you this: as you're sitting there thinking, are you surprised that with the amount of cover up that they did to try to protect the integrity of what they were doing from the general public, are you surprised that it was found? Is there's two-part question: are you surprised from all your research? And two, do you think that nowadays they could have pulled off the same thing with today's media?
Never happened. Yeah, I don't. I was surprised. I, you know, I first off, it would never happen. Just for the sheer fact of that's like there's an interesting little twist there because I thought about this often. So the man who basically gets most of the deals done in Florida, obviously Robert Foster, the attorney for Disney, but there was a man named Paul Hellowell, and
Okay.
Mr. Hellowell was at the time really high up in the CIA. Um, he was he predated the CIA. He was in the OSS,
Oh,
and he was in charge of basically Asia. He was rumored to be the paymaster for the Bay of Pigs. So while he was basically helping Disney, he was helping to try to topple Cuba.
yeah.
Um, so this is somebody. So the dynamic there is crazy to think about. That we have a CIA agent who's extremely powerful in the state of Florida and the world, um, is sort of conversing with Walt Disney. So it's one of those things where you think about, like, I wonder if I often said I wonder if Walt and Roy knew exactly who he was. Sure, they knew he was an attorney from Miami, and they
Right.
became friends. And I over the short period of time since this book has been out, I spoke with his daughter, Paul Hellowell's daughter, Anne, lovely woman. And it's not like you could Google, like, oh, let's see who Paul Hellowell is. Let's Google him and see who he really is. So I mean, 1962, 34, 5, none of that stuff existed. So you could pull things off, obviously, as
Right.
they
But
did.
not every.
But it's interesting, it's like different world, different time, different people, like things that went on would never. I mean,
Never.
somebody, a Figment popcorn bucket goes on sale, and it's like, all hell breaks loose
Oh, yes.
on Twitter and Instagram. So
Absolutely.
I think it's crazy that they were able to pull it off. But I do think that the story would have been out of the bag sooner, but there was some cooperation, I believe, from Orlando Sentinel and other people. Not they didn't really want to mess the deal up, and they were the senators and the government in Florida they were petrified to really piss Disney off and have Disney say, "Ah, I'm going to come, or we're going to walk away from the deal." So I feel like everybody sort of did what they had to do to keep it quiet.
Absolutely. Norman,
Yeah.
Bobby, and Dave, who just came in and said, "What a story." Hit that subscribe tonight. Come back and join us. We're going to do a lot of these interviews. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it tonight. Mariana, welcome in. Same deal. Hit that subscribe. The story should be a movie. Yeah, and I think I knew somebody that could write it. I think I know somebody could write it. Would be good to do it there. Let me ask you, as you're going through this, is there a sequel to this? Oh, I think he froze again. I think we lost him for a second again. We'll hang tight here. I'll just keep talking with you guys till we get it back. Bobby Sills, Meet the Disney Brothers is such a great young adult book. We're going to talk about that with our guest here in just a few minutes. There is weather going up and down the East Coast. I should note that. There's some heavy weather that passed us last night, and I believe that our guest is featuring that. Let's be honest. He can't control Mother Nature. So I love the comments that are coming in tonight here. Again, we're sitting talking with our guest tonight. He is Aaron H. Goldberg. He is a best-selling author. He's been found everywhere: Amazon, Walmart, Target, Barnes and Noble. Books a million. Been found over there doing it. This is his website. It's the AaronHGoldberg.com. You can find information over there all about him, about his bio, about his books, about the awards that he's won. We're going to talk about that with him in just a few minutes. I'm actually going to bring that up on the screen for you here while we're sitting here so you guys can see some of the awards. We talked about it at the beginning of the interview here. These are some of the awards that Aaron has won and recognized over there. So many of them already that he's been the recipient of. And, you know, that's just the success of someone who knows what they're doing out there, who can deliver. And, you know, when you're recognized by these type of places with these type of awards, it's absolutely impressive as you go through. Aaron, it is what it is.
I don't know what's going on. I apologize.
We've had weather in the Northeast. It's happened. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We roll with the punches here on the channel.
I
Welcome
feel
in.
terrible.
Pinky Ringer has a question for you. What
Yes.
is Aaron's favorite? What book is your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
Disney book or just in general? That's a tough. That's a tough.
That's a tough question. I don't know if he meant which one of the ones you wrote is your favorite.
Oh my!
Maybe that.
Buying Disney's World was you know, I feel like it could be like my swan song. I don't know if I'll, you know, I don't have too many topics in my head bouncing around what to write again. But if I don't write another book about Disney, I'm happy. I love that book.
Well, let's jump down. Let's talk about a couple of the other ones, and we'll come back to this again before we leave because this is the one that's out there, and we want to highlight throughout the night. What's up, Yachty? Welcome in. Let's go over here for a second, and let's talk about the Disney story. Let's talk about that. The Disney story, chronicling the man, the mouse, and the parks. There's a little bit of highlights on this book. For everybody. The book starts out in the 1930s with Steamboat Willie and concludes in 2016 with the opening of Shanghai Disney. It's one of 26 books every true Disney fan should have in their collection, according to Pop Sugar, which is a very well-known, respected outlet out there. The Disney story, chronicling the man, is a must-read book for Disney fans of all levels. That quote happened multiple times as I researched for this interview. And it's a decade-by-decade look into the Walt and the parks, covering some of the company's most memorable moments and lesser-known facts. Talk to me about your passion behind the Disney story. I love this book. I think it's incredible.
Thank you. I sort of wanted like a one-stop shop. Like I wanted to cover, you know, the major milestones throughout from the jump. So from Mickey Mouse to Shanghai Disney, I basically went decade by decade. Again, it's like an organic. It's sort of like a timeline. So I timeline the company. If you could buy one Disney book and try and, you know, get the taste of everything from the parks to Mickey to you name it. That's sort of like a one-stop shop for the book right there. I sort of wanted. I didn't want to say like Disney for Dummies, like a book, but you know, like this will give you the introduction and hits the major milestones and not so major milestones and random stories, things that were meant to be and could have been and didn't happen. There's a little bit of that in there. Just something a little bit more interesting than like a biography.
And I think it's an excellent, something I didn't tell you when preferencing for this interview, which I was kind of waiting for our interview to talk about. I should also say that Paulina says, my first introduction to Disney history. After reading this book, I was hooked on all Disney history. So thank you, she says. I think that's absolutely fantastic and a great way to say it. Aaron, this book, as it gives a person the details and reasons for how they should or why they should love Disney, I believe. And
Absolutely.
so as I worked my job, this is one of the books when people would come to me and say, you know, when they were prominent people in their field, you know, and I'm talking about people that were running corporations and running companies that I would meet, I gave it several times on base to higher ranking officers that would say to me, how do you love Disney so much? I would hand them this book and say, read this, give it back
Love it.
when you're done. And I had multiple friends now that are now Disney fans because of this book. So
I'm honored.
that's
Thank you.
very well written. And that's what I would tell you. If you're out there and you have friends or family that don't get why you love Disney and you're watching tonight, whether it's live or the replay, get them this book. Give them a birthday gift or early Christmas gift. Buy it now. Put it in their stocking. You can get it on Amazon. The link's right in the body description of the video. It's fantastic. As you write it, again, speed bump. You're writing Disney's story. What is the toughest thing? I think I have an idea, but I'm curious what your answer would be.
I think this one, the toughest part of this book was what not like to pare it down to get what goes in and what goes out. I think this book has a little bit for everybody. So, if you are remotely interested in Disney, there's something there that, will scratch your itch, so to speak. But it was what makes it and what doesn't. That was always hard.
Nice. Disney. CM Manny says the Disney story.
Thank you.
Such an easy read. That's a great thing. Gene Fitzmagic, he's throwing some magic into the chat. He says the Disney story is outstanding. Outstanding. Let me ask you this: if there was one or two little looks inside the book to give people a little taste that might make them want to go out and get it tonight, what would you say they would be?
What are one or two little tidbits from the book that should
tempt them? Away the prize pooch, but I do like showing what she can do.
I think it's interesting to see how the animation was done back in the day. I mean, we take so much for granted. Everything's, most things are now CGI or, they're somebody's not, most times now it's not somebody sitting there, drawing on cells and doing things like that. And that still fascinates me because that's how it all started. It was so labor intensive. And there were so many niche people who had to do certain things and get things right. So early on, like the 30s and the 40s, when you hear about how they actually created the sound, how Mickey came to be,
right.
Even Snow White, that stuff's fascinating because without any of those things, we don't have what we have today, even just theme park wise. So if, Snow White bombs, the company's out of business. So we don't get anything else.
Right.
So it all, that's the other interesting thing is everything's cumulative. With the company, it builds and builds. Walt was constantly taking money, reinvesting and expanding further, which is, pretty remarkable.
I love it. So direct link right in the description of the video. My moderators have been dropping it all night. I highly recommend this read. Again, another smooth read, as was noted in the chat by Manny. Noted that it's a very you get these books that they just flow. Buying Disney Worlds is the same way. A lot of it can be just that swagger of the author, as I put it, when it's a smooth read, and both of these go out the same way. There's Jesse jumping in there saying, I hope this interview lasts 3 hours. So much. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Hit that subscribe. You can keep up with all the stuff we're going, and welcome in Bloom and Cheesa.
Pete, we could talk for 3 hours, can't we?
Probably.
We could chat. We could do it. I think we could.
My wife says I do that all the time, but we'll see. Let's take a step back, and I always like going in and out from the books and from the art into the person yourself. Share with me, if you wouldn't mind, a little bit about you. Everybody likes to collect Disney things. Let's talk about that first. What are some things that are passionate for you as collecting anything about Disney? It could be something as simple as a pin or as big as, something that Walt owned.
This is a bad subject for me. This is like I had to take the eBay app off my phone because I would sit in bed and I wouldn't be able to fall asleep and I would just start cruising and I've too many things like that I have. Really the theme park stuff gets me. I have some really old I have a copy of one of the Alice comedies
Really?
from I think it's 1925.
Wow.
It's sitting it's sitting in a safe deposit in the bank because I'm afraid it would like decompose, but in my house. Theme park stuff and anything random, and I try not to buy anymore because I just was out of control for too many years. Bought too many things. I mean, even recently I bought like the Pop Century poster from the 1970s that I came up on eBay, or I bought the headboard. Like I've just it's like something I look in your background, I could see, it bites you and that's it. You just keep buying. It's bad.
I love that.
Too much credit card debt for that.
I love your background behind you. Could you just share with everybody that's watching tonight a little bit of what's behind you framed up?
This is like my ego room. If anybody mentioned my name in the media, it went on my wall. So there's LA Times, there's CNN,
Love it.
there's Fodars, Travel and Leisure. The right directly behind me with Mickey it was a magazine for Mickey's 90th. I wrote something on, or I was actually interviewed for something on Minnie Mouse.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably if you walk in and say it, it's probably a little too much, but
That's
I
okay.
don't know.
It's
The
never too
ego
much.
swells. Yeah,
They're called check mark accomplishments, and we all need them in our life to reassure that the efforts that we do are
I
great.
agree.
We're getting some great compliments that come along. Mandy says I have such a pin problem. Bevy Ellett says I'm going to start collecting Disney history books, starting with
There we
Bobby
go.
Disney's World. I thank you, Bevy. I
I like it.
appreciate that. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it.
Pete,
So
if you want to give away a book, we could do a book giveaway. If you want to give away Buying Disney's World to get it out there, if some of the
I
viewers
would
want
love.
to,
You know what? Here's what I would love to do. I would love to do. I will.
yeah,
Here's what we're gonna do tonight. Make it easy for everybody. If you could
yep,
send me a signed copy, I would love it for
yep.
the person to have your John Hancock in there. I think that adds polish to it. Tonight, from anybody that goes in and leaves a comment on the video, in the body of the video, leave a comment. Just hey, I love the interview. Hey, I love his books. Hey, I love Disney. Any comment, family friendly. Let's come on. Let's be honest, guys. We're Disney. Leave a comment in on this video. Okay, go leave a comment from those names this Friday night. This Friday night, coming up. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save it. I'm going to do it. No, I'll do it this Friday night because I'm going to give a copy of Kim's book away. We'll make it an author special. We'll give away a copy of Kim's because she sent me one signed to give away, and we'll give a copy of Aaron's away. We'll do them separately so the people that were here for this interview and watched Aaron here tonight will have a chance to win Aaron's. The people that watched Kim's last week will have a chance to win that one. So how about that? I think that way we know it goes to
Works for me.
someone who's really excited about it. If you could just send it to me, and then I'll make sure we get it to everybody. Uh, or the other way. We'll work it out at the end. We'll figure out how we want to do it at the end.
You're
Granny
the
Smith.
boss.
I love that. Granny Smith with an apple up there says, "My sister won one of Aaron's books." That's awesome. Well, congratulations
Excellent.
to your sister. Let's jump back into the books here.
Yes.
Let's go over to. Oh, and I should highlight too. Also, when we're talking about the Disney story, 266 pages. Everybody, 266 on that one. Let's go over to Meet the Disney Brothers. Let's go over to that one and jump over there to that book. I thought this was really cool, well written. I think that it can be for kids and adults on this one. And it's an exciting book, 100 pages. Not a huge read, a simple, smooth read again. Winner of the Benjamin Franklin Silver Award for Young Reader Nonfiction in 2020. Just recently, everybody. Just happened. Bronze Medal winner 2020 for Reader's Favorite. Winner of Beverly Hills Book Awards in 2020. Finalist for the IBA Book Awards in 2020. This book, if it's a baseball player, it's hitting grand slams and throwing no hitters. It's just that good. It's a kid-friendly condensed version of Walt and Roy's childhood and the story of the Walt Disney Company. Meet the Disney Brothers is an easy-to-read book written for youngsters in mind. But parents, this book is for you too. That was one of the compliments that was put on there about the book. Tell me a little bit about the thought process behind this one as we welcome in Vanessa coming in to join us as well, saying Meet the Disney Brothers is so good.
Oh,
Tell us
thank you,
about
Vanessa.
it, Aaron. Would you mind?
This I wanted to get a little, recognition for Roy. I think somewhere in the book I say if it's not for Roy, if Walt's the biggest dreamer, then Roy's the biggest dream maker because he made them all happen.
Yeah.
I think the catalyst for this book was when I think I was writing the Disney story I came across in 2001 that the Disney company actually did some research and came across that kids like second, third, fourth grade kids didn't know Walt Disney was an actual person.
Okay.
They thought he was a made up character. So that to me seems crazy.
Yes.
So obviously we all grow up and we know he's real, but I wanted to sort of get some information out there and tell the story of the two brothers. The other thing is I think there's a good like family story here. They would fight, they would argue, they would stop talking for a few months, but ultimately they persevered, they came back together and they changed the world. So I think it's a good there's good lessons in there just for any kid or anybody and early on I think there was a funny story Roy tells where he talked how Walt used to wet the bed and he knew because they slept in the same bed, and I was I think back to myself, oh, if you're a kid and you have a little bedwetting problem. You're in good company. Walt Disney wet the bed too.
Well,
So
let me ask you this: as we're talking about the brothers, as you did your research, for all the books that you've done, is there one or two unique facts that you found about either Roy or Walt or the Disney company that you were just like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought that, and it just kind of caught you off guard?
um, I don't think there was one thing. I think there was such a resiliency in Walt that is just sort of maybe what sort of resonates with me.
Hmm.
Um, he just, wouldn't take no for an answer, and that is just a remarkable thing. Something we all need in life to just keep pushing through. Life's hard, life's tough, and there's plenty of adversity, and you just have to keep moving forward. And that's something he always did. So that always stuck out when you see, often you see, somebody's success and you think, oh, it was an easy path or, whatever. But the reality is when you dig deeper, there's always a story. And I was always just, impressed with their resiliency and, and it's a look back into a world that is no more in the sense of you could start up a small company and with not much money and borrow money from family members and sort of make great things happen. Unfortunately, I don't know if that happens today.
Hmm.
You need a lot of money to get things going. But yeah, so
Absolutely. I want to highlight Leo. Welcome in, Leo. Leo Lorenzo says, funny story. Thank you, Leo, for that comment. Trish had a great question. She says, does Aaron have any stories that he hasn't written about yet?
no, they're really, I'm like at the bottom of the barrel of what I had a little book of things I wanted to write about, and they're all just about all checked off. I entertained doing something for the 100th. Next year there'll be 100 years of Disney in our lives, and there's maybe something there, maybe not. I'm not sure, but for the most part, I think everything that is bouncing around in my head for Disney is kind of out in the world.
I keep having people tell me I should write a story about everything I went through with the whole Disney inflection. Maybe that's
You
something.
write it, and I'll publish it for you.
There, okay,
100%.
there we go. There you go. Maybe we'll be.
100%.
It'll be a good stay.
Yep.
I'd love to do that. So this is a great book. It's written from a youth perspective for kids to read to be able to go into it. But I can tell the adults too, as I've gone through and read this book. There's so much little unique points in there that as a parent or as an uncle or an aunt out there that you or a brother or a sibling, you can sit back and say, wow, okay, that's pretty good too. Jesse highlights right there. If you want to ask a question tonight, please highlight at Pete McDevitt Show so it jumps up on my screen so I don't miss anybody that wants to ask. Again, I want to remind everybody that all of the links for my guest and all of his social media, including his website, is available in the description of this video. It's also being dropped in by my moderator. So if you're watching on hashtag replay, we appreciate you being here. You can also click into any of those links or just jump over to the description. Every link for every book, right to Amazon, to your house. It's Tuesday. You do it now while we're talking. You probably have it by Friday. You're reading it by the weekend. By Sunday, you're sending me a note saying, you were right. Thank you for talking to me about that book. And then I just send it over to Aaron and, he can smile and say thank you as well. We would love for that. And again, if you're joining me for the first time, I do Disney interviews like this every Tuesday night with people I call impact people of Disney. People that have made a difference, even though they weren't Walter Roy, they found a way to bring you the magic. Aaron definitely is in this, in that whole category. Come back every Tuesday nights. We do other Disney interviews Sunday and Wednesday and hangouts on Friday. And I put out Disney 4K content from either Paris, Florida, or California, rides and shows every day of the week. Cindy says, hey, Mr. Goldberg should teach a college course about Disney. Have you ever thought about that, being Professor Goldberg? That's a great comment there.
I have. That's a good thought, Cindy. It's bouncing around out there. I've had some talks at some schools. Somebody reached out to me and told me that Clemson University actually has a history of theme park course, and they use Buying Disney's World in the course. So I was honored to hear that. But yeah, it's a possibility. I'm always game.
I can tell you the comment that came to me when I reached out initially about you when I watched your interview over on the FB network. Gene and Piano Rob interviewed, and it was an incredible interview, a lot of fun. You can check it out. The moderators can drop the link for that. I reached out to Gene, and Gene's comment to me was, Aaron's forgot more than we all know when it comes to Disney. And I thought that was one of the
That's,
best things that could be said about anybody right there.
I'm flattered. I'm honored,
Well,
especially coming from Gene.
yeah, well, he
Gene's
doesn't.
right there.
He loses track in his beard a lot, but we still love
He
him.
does.
You know. So
He does.
Heart Disney. I love this channel name too. I hope you subscribe and come back just because I love this channel name and the Disney inflection on your avatar. It says, "Love this book so much. Not much has been written about the relationship between the brothers." Did you find that as you went out that there just wasn't a lot of content about Walt and Roy together?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, the Disney company puts out Roy's biography, and the Disney company also put out Walt's, obviously. And here and there, obviously, you can't tell the story without one or the other. But there really was no together. And again, I mean, it's like I think they call it a middle age reader book. But if you want a quick synopsis on Walt and what went on with Roy, and you could read the book in a half an hour, and you sort of get the lowdown on everything rather quickly. And there's some really good illustrations in there. I had a great artist, Rob Yo, over in England, and he does my book covers and he did the illustrations. So big shout out to Rob. He's a really talented guy.
Oh, we gotta give we always like to give proper shout outs, so we'll give a shout out to Rob.
Yeah,
Give me a
yeah.
little plug.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep, he deserves it.
Let me ask you this: as we're talking about the books, and every author that I've talked to through time, no matter what genre it's in, has had that moment where something has happened after the book has been written, with an interaction with somebody who's read it, somebody who has come up to them and told them either a small story, a quote that they've said, a reaction that they've had. Can you be kind enough to share maybe one or two of those? Because I'm sure they had to have happened with the impact that you've made with these books.
What happens often is I come across something that I didn't come across when I wrote it, and I was like, "Damn, I want to put that in there. I needed to put that in there, and I missed it. Damn." But they're usually very small things. But so Paul Hellawell, the man I was talking about before, who basically the CIA, and he
Okay.
basically gets the land deals done. His daughter, I ended up speaking with his daughter. She read the book. She read Buying Disney's World. She sent me an email. We talked on the phone for like 2 hours. And she mentioned that she didn't even know most of the stories. And she said she actually learned a good deal about her father. And she was happy that I wrote it, and actually said it was the stuff that I did, that she did know about was all very accurate. So that was a huge compliment to hear that. She says, I didn't even know any of these stories. She's like, I remember being, at home, and she was a kid. She goes, and Walt and Roy would come over to the house, and Walt and Roy Disney in your house. It's crazy, but I didn't know what they were doing. And here we go, decades later, it's they're all together.
That's really cool. Tomato de Crab, which I absolutely love that channel name and the avatar. Welcome in, my friend. Thank you for being here. Gonna watch it back from the beginning. Got here a little bit late. Also, let's see who else came in. Peter came in. Peter Palos came in. Says that's so fascinating. That's so fascinating. And CM Manny says, hey, they need to have an Aaron Goldberg day at Walt Disney World. That would be something. I think Aaron's little internet might have locked up a little bit there. Yeah, he did. He'll be right back. So welcome in Tomato de Crab. Welcome in, everybody. If you're coming in new for the first time, my name's Pete. I do these interviews Tuesday nights. I do Disney interviews with YouTube and social media creators Sunday and Wednesday nights on this channel. And Friday nights, we have a Disney news and merchandise hangout. If you're looking for Disney news right from the source, if you're looking for brand new Disney merch that's just hit, come hang out with us on Friday night, and we will bring them up, and we'd love to have you hang out with us. You never know, you might see him up in there on a Friday night. Let me throw this up on the screen. Let's see what we got here. Big Irish. That is a great. I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I love you already. Usually tuning in for sports, but loving this interview. Thank you, Big Irish. You just proved me right that doing the sports, we find friends that can come to the Disney community. Big Irish, I'm doing Notre Dame on Friday, baseball. Come back and hang out with me, dude. Patty Puddle says, hey, Pete McDevitt Show, is there any place we can go to buy autographed copies of some of Aaron's books?
Patty, reach out to me or Pete, and just DM me or go to my website and send me an email, and I will make sure you get whatever you want. Or you can reach out to Pete and tell Pete, and Pete will tell me. And however you want to get there, AaronHGoldberg.com, and we will make sure I get you whatever you want.
That's the beard's brother. That's the brother of the beard right there.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
So you might know
the
how to get a hold of him there.
So there we go. Tell Gene to send me a text.
Let me ask you this: as you've done all this, and worked with it, and you've written your books, who is the most unique celebrity that has reached out to you? It could be a Disney celebrity. It could be a just general celebrity. Who was the one that reached out to you that you were kind of surprised? Everybody's had one.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Really?
Yeah, that
That's
book right
cool.
there, The Wonders of Walt Disney World. Yeah,
Well, that was a
I
transition.
was.
How about that?
That was a great. That was very. We couldn't have planned that better. I almost, when I opened up my email, I looked at my email and I almost fell out of my chair and I went, oh my god. Yeah. I
So
mean, I see stuff here on social media. Somebody, there were like, I don't know, there were some wrestlers or somebody I just saw in passing. I half the time don't know what to do on Instagram. I'm like Instagram inept. I'm really good at Twitter. And I had somebody share something. It came my way, and I was like, I don't even know what to do here. What am I looking at? And they're like, that's your book. He's on a plane going to Disney World with your book. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But I got an email from NPH, and he read the book and loved the book and sent me an email, and I literally almost fell out of my chair.
I absolutely love
Yeah,
it. He is. I tell you what, there's a lot of people in the world, actors and creators wise. I would love to sit down and interview him one day. I think it would be incredible. That's a long term goal though. So NPH, if you're
yeah.
listening and you got a shout out here, give me a caller. I want to
Let's
interview.
make it happen.
Make it happen.
Yeah,
Yeah. Debbie Bernfeld says, did Aaron ever read the book The Disney Way and the Disney Torch? Have you ever read that book?
I read the Disney Way.
Okay.
Did not read the Disney Touch.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not
I've
much.
re- I I like to think I read almost all the books out there, and I think I've read probably three-quarters of them at least. Or if I didn't read them, I have them. But it's one of those things where you try and, it's hard to always fit in books, and when I'm busy reading or writing or researching, I don't always have the time to,
Absolutely.
put something into the repertoire. Yeah.
Well, let's jump over. We had to transition here to the Wonders of Walt Disney World. 270 pages strong. It's a guidebook that covers every attraction, restaurant, and shop in all of Walt Disney World. Combines the best of a travel book, a history book, and internet ratings. Was one of the comments that was written about it, which I thought was excellent. Wish I'd written this book. Seriously. George Taylor, that's a direct comment from George Taylor, Disney and theme park historian. That's a historian writing that comment. Welcome into Disney Baker. Thank you for coming in. Flip McGovern, who wrote these books? This gentleman right here, Aaron H. Goldberg, is your author of these books. That's who wrote these books. Let's talk a little bit about this one. Tell me a little bit about the insight of the Wonders of Walt Disney World.
This book was sort of my take on a guidebook. I basically walked the parks. We start at Magic Kingdom. We walk the entire park. We go down Main Street. I point out what's interesting, or what's a little secret, or little trivia and facts and whatnot. I walk the entire park. We hit most of the attractions. Then we head on the monorail. We head over to Epcot, and then we do DHS, and then we do the Animal Kingdom. And it's like a walking tour of every park with some history, some facts, some random tidbits, little stories, all in one. It's sort of like if you're getting ready to go to the park, if you're, a couple weeks out from a trip, you read the book, it'll get you really excited. If you're home and you read the book, it's going to get you sad. It's like, oh, I want to go back.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That makes good sense. Jen Mott says that's a big compliment, referencing the recognition we had from a Disney historian. Big Matt, yes, audiobooks are available for Aaron, I believe,
yep,
all the way around.
every title.
Matt, you can get every
Yep.
title under that, so it's a great way to do it. Welcome in Tim Rempel. He's a big supporter to our Disney community. We love Tim. Thank you for joining. Tim, you got to check out some of the books of my man Aaron here. You will absolutely love them. As much as you're in Disney, you'll find some. As you wrote this, and we're putting together about the parks, share with me just one or two tidbits that you'll find in the book to give people a little taste of surprises that come in that book.
Let's see. So I think there's an interesting story, again, back to, not like controversy or whatever, but it's like Epcot was opening, and the FBI and the CIA, the FBI over in Tampa was nervous for China to actually open up a pavilion because they were afraid of espionage and communism and all kinds of crazy things from 1981, 1982.
Right.
That they actually had like a big investigation going into the what would happen if China opens up a pavilion in Epcot, which seems kind of crazy, but I guess Cold War era or whatever. That was a really random thing that I came across.
I was in the bathroom one time, and I think I stood next to a spy, but I'm not sure.
Maybe, you never know. You never know.
That's an
I always
intriguing note, though. That's
thought that was intriguing. The other I know it's probably a story that's told often, but basically there's a story with Joe Rohde who how he's pitching the animal kingdom to Michael Eisner, and he basically brings I want to say tiger. I don't know if it's a lion, but I'm pretty sure it was a tiger. He brings a live tiger into the meeting on a chain, on a leash, basically, and walks it into the meeting, and basically wows everybody with, because everybody's like, oh, it's a zoo, we can't have a zoo, and Joe was like, no, no, this is not a zoo, but there's excitement, there's danger, there's all this with animals. I mean, it's so much more. And she literally brings a tiger in, and it went right up to Michael Eisner, and basically, throughout that meeting, it was a done deal. And I think that's kind of a cool thing.
That right there is a
The-
reason to buy the book 100%. Lauren, welcome
yeah,
in
because
because every story's so interesting.
I probably chopped up, mangled the story, but the end result is Joe Rohde brought a tiger into a meeting with Michael Eisner, and now we have the animal kingdom.
Well, and I thought a couple that, and I pulled these from the back of the book, so I'm not sharing anything that's not already out there. A couple of the points that I loved on there that you talk about is what attraction at Magic Kingdom has been scientifically proven to greatly aid
Oh,
in passing a kidney stone. That
I
is,
forgot about that.
that's a great
I
one
did.
that you can
Yeah,
find.
big
Welcome in,
big
Clarissa. I've heard that
big
story. I
Thunder
didn't realize
Mountain.
it was true. So Clarissa had
Yeah.
heard the roadie story, but didn't realize. Guys, I'm telling you, if you're sitting here saying like I was when I did the research on this interview, wow, you got to get this book. It'll jump out at you. Think about something like this. Forget about hidden Mickeys. Ready for this one? Short week. Welcome in. Forget about hidden Mickeys. Did you know Disney's newest park, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, features a hidden Millennium Falcon? I did know that. I actually know where it is, but it's
Cool, right?
it's incredibly cool. It's incredibly cool. And the great thing is, if you try to get Ray to acknowledge it when she's there, there's no going out of character. There will be no acknowledgement. You know,
I love that. I love when folks to the cast members don't break character.
it's
I
great.
love it. I mean, that's great to me. Yeah.
It's great.
I went to a character dinner one night, and I forget who I was with. I forget who I was talking to, and I was like talking to her, and I couldn't get her to break character. She actually told me to shut up and go away, go back to my
Really?
table. I thought it was really funny.
Well, and the one that I loved, being an '80s guy. Welcome in, Meredith. I've been saying wow all interview. Thank you, Meredith, for that. I appreciate that. If you're having a good time, hit that subscribe. Come back and join me. If you're coming in late, or you found us halfway through on the replay, go back, hit the start, listen to this whole interview. My man is just frankly just flat out great to do as an author.
Thank you.
The magic. This is a great one that I love, and I'll leave it on this because Sarah J's coming in. Sarah J is a huge Tom Selleck fan. She loves the mustache.
There we go.
Find out in this book, what does Tom Selleck have to do with Figment? Figment. There's something.
Yep.
Go get the book. That's how you're going to find it. Yes, audio is available. It's great. If you're listening to an author like Aaron, let me ask you this, because I don't know this, Aaron, because I don't have the audios for you. Are you doing the read on the Audible, or is someone else?
No, there's somebody else. I hired somebody to do it. I didn't think
Okay.
people would want to hear me,
Okay.
my Philadelphia twang of my accent here.
No
Yeah.
problem.
So
I just wanted to make sure because if somebody went in and didn't hear your voice, they were like, "Wait a minute, I thought I was going to hear Aaron." So the great thing about this, if with audio books, guys, if I used to work for a living where I was in the car a lot with the military, going back and forth, and I love doing it. I would put audio books on. Lou Mangello, I'm sure you know of Lou,
yeah,
Aaron. So
sure.
I have two of Lou's books back here, off signed by him. This book will go right next to it on my trophy shelf of my prized friends that are authors. I used to sit and listen to Lou all the time driving from Norfolk back to Baltimore. I would put in his audio stuff or an audio book or something similar. And
Wow.
this is great for you. Go if you like it what you hear tonight and you don't have time to sit there and read a book, grab the audio version, listen to it as you're going to work, as you're working out, on your way to the park, flying down in a plane. What better than listening to something like this on the way down? My dad was a doppelganger for Selleck, Alex says. Okay. Love the fact that you got the Ravens up there. Thank you. I always appreciate the Ravens love on there. Let's take a step back out for a second, talk about Alex, the person, as opposed to Alex, the author. What parks have you been to? What parks are on your bucket list for long-term? Hey, I want to get there.
I've been to, if it's in this country, I was there. So I've been there. But out of this country, I have not been. I haven't ventured out. I'd like to go to Paris and I'd like to go to Tokyo. I mean, I'd like to go to them all, but I think and Paris are probably, the bucket list parks to hit.
That's cool.
Um,
So it's
I, I am
go ahead.
I'm not a lover of long flights, so
Me
those
either.
are some long flights.
Yes.
So I would have to get a Valium or something to knock myself out
Yeah, take a
for the
nap, wake up,
duration.
and you're there,
Yeah,
type of thing. Well, if
yeah.
you've been to California so much and doing all this research that you've done, obviously it must have given you a feeling of closeness to Walt, as you've
Yeah.
done to Roy, for that factor. We always, I love the fact that during our few minutes before this interview started, you brought up about how important Roy was. People need not to forget that. Let me, when you went out to California, are you getting that emotional touch to the park when you walk in there, knowing that Walt actually walked those streets and sat in those benches and everything?
Yeah, you can't beat it. I mean, that's the beauty and the I haven't been to the museum yet. No, that's on the list too.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the beauty of Disneyland. It's the intimacy of, this was his muse or his dream or so many things there. It was like, it meant so much to him. I mean, if you believe if you believe in ghosts, you believe in hauntings and things like that, you got to think that Walt's probably roaming that park somewhere. It meant so much to him. It was such an emotional attachment to him. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's an amazing factor that people forget about a lot is how much Roy did put into it. That really, realistically, California is Walt's park and Florida is Roy's, but together, without everything, without them working together, we don't have it, which is incredible to think about. Let's take a jump over as we're talking about that. And Leah, thank you. Great question. I love the name Leah, by the way. I wanted to do that for one of my daughters. I got voted down. It happens. Wife seems to have a little bit more power on that one. Let's talk about Disney Declassified for a minute. Disney, I couldn't pull a good color shot of Disney Declassified. Most of the ones I found were challenged. I didn't like the way they looked. I wanted to present the good factor. Disney Declassified, 228 pages. This is one of your earlier books. Rather than just a tell-all book, it's more of a short history that delves into the Disney background stories of each situation. Could you talk a little bit about Disney Declassified for us?
So it's sort of like the stories. It's sort of like when real life seeps into, like the Disney world. Bad things that go on, accidents, deaths, tragedy, all, crazy things that you sort of don't think happen. Actually, they do happen from time to time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's sort of chronicled. These are stories that books sort of happen by accident. These are stories I just came across as I was doing research for another book for the Disney story. Um, that I would just come across, if I would scour newspaper archives, invariably you search and you end up seeing horrible things that have happened. So I basically collected those stories, and it happens, here and abroad, or then just things Disney would do for trying to enforce their copyright and trademark. So they would sue folks for infringement, and sort of like a different side of
Okay.
Disney that I guess it's sort of
And
like the book
I'm going to highlight a
folks
couple of
don't
those.
love to hate.
There's a couple points that I love. I want to highlight here, but real quick, Cavalcade King, which I love that channel name. So many great channel names coming in tonight for the first time joining us. Hit that subscribe. I'd love for you to come back. Great question here. Which is the best book to start with? That's a great question.
I think you could really jump in anywhere, and that's sort of. I mean, the Disney story is a good place to start. You want to get the whole history, and that's also another book where you don't have to start at the beginning. You could start in the 1940s. You could start in the 1950s. I sort of have the chapters laid out that way. I think I'm a little bit more biased. If you're a Disney World fan, buying Disney World is the book to start with. That book sort of. I think it's a pretty.
Yeah,
If I say so myself, pretty
it,
pretty great book.
it's not a pretty great. It's a great book. What story is the craziest that you've learned in your research? Ella says. Welcome in, Ella Vader. Love it.
Um, there was a suicide at the bathrooms where Figment at the Imagination Pavilion. Actually, a hostage situation turned into a suicide. So this is, I believe, the late '80s, sort of like a domestic dispute. A woman was a cast member at the park, broke up with her boyfriend in New York. He comes down. He wants to see her. She didn't want to see him. He brings a sawed-off shotgun into Epcot. He grabs two security guards, holds him hostage. They bring in the SWAT team, and he basically let the security guards go, but he killed himself. Like literally at the bathroom at Epcot, which is crazy. Literally at the bathroom at Imagination Pavilion. I mean, it's a horrendous story, but it's sort of like, it's like the Disney death tour. Yeah, and I write the book, and not that I'm obviously not a Disney hater, but I just sort of tell the stories as they are.
Right.
Doesn't
That's
say
a
you're not safe there. It's accidents happen, and it's just the world's crazy, and it seeps into the Disney world.
Well, a couple of the highlights from Disney Declassified, which I thought were unique. This book is for those fans who want to read behind the scenes dirt, like you said. Disney would prefer to keep quiet, and they are honest. It's a real look at some situations that play out in the theme parks. They're the corporate boardroom, and too often a courtroom, as noted. And some of the situations are heartbreaking, others are head scratching, and all of them are Disney you would rather not hear. The key with it, thank you, John Martin, for that comment, and also for Timmy Shear for that comment. The key is Disney's a worldwide, global conglomerate now. Didn't start that way. Walt had a vision, and that vision has just exploded. It's kind of like when the infinity jewels were put out there. China just went everywhere. Walt started with one little thing, boom, went into this thing. But there is opportunity when you're talking national parks for things to happen, and it does. And Disney does a good job of managing them and working through them. And again, not a bash part of it, just an acknowledgement of, hey, well, these things are documented, it's quantified that they happen. So Danger Mouse, love that channel name too. Got some great. I tell you what, Aaron, I'll bring you on, and we've got some of the greatest channel names coming on tonight that I have.
I love it.
I hope they come back. I absolutely love what they're doing. Patty Puddles throws out there, hey, I was amazed at the amount of stories in the book that I've never heard of before. Disney is good at keeping wild stories out of the media. Okay.
That they are.
It's interesting.
And you also have to remember the time, not social media wasn't so prevalent, so they could bury things. Things would, just happen and sort of be swept away. That doesn't happen now. Somebody has a camera phone everywhere. They're gonna not that people aren't gonna help you. They'll rather film it, which is insane to me. But yeah,
we're coming down to the final thing here. I just want to recap real quick before I throw my last couple questions at Aaron. We are talking with Aaron H. Goldberg, accomplished best-selling author. You can find him over on his website at aaronhgoldberg.com. We've been highlighting that throughout the night. He's on Twitter, 2,900. He's just under 3,000 followers over on Twitter. Instagram, featured over there with over 400 posts on Instagram. And, of course, you can find him all around your book outlets on Amazon and so many others. Wherever you find your audiobooks, I'm sure if you look, you can find it. And Aaron's digging them up, Banya says. You're finding them. We love that. We appreciate that. And his links have been dropped throughout the night. Again, if you're finding it, you've had a good time with this interview, right in the description of this video is the area where you can find all of the links going directly to our guest tonight to buy his books right on Amazon, have it shipped to your house. Really enjoyed the show tonight. I'll be back. Well, thank you, Mary Poppins. I appreciate that. Let me ask you this. The three questions I like to finish with here are kind of, make you think a little bit. So first, let's start with the first one here is what interview, out of all the interviews you did to put this together, all these books, you got a whole plethora here, what interview impacted you the most? Like, what person did you interview as part of your whole process that when you left the room, you were like, wow, that was something? It has to be one at least.
There's a lot of interviews, but there was, and I wish I had a chance to interview him, but I feel like I did in a sense. I mean, I had his life's work in front of me. It was Robert Foster, basically how I put together Buying Disney's World. And I'm sitting there with papers and things that were hanging in, a conference room in Burbank that Walt and Roy were looking at. And that was just insane to me that I could hold these pieces of paper. And I feel like I got to know, after I read so much of his writing, and I feel like I got to know him. It's one of those things. I think in the past month or two, he just passed. He's probably close to 90. But I didn't physically talk to him, but I felt like I got to know him. And it was just remarkable what he was able to do in the 1960s under, some covert things here to make, Disney World happen.
I love that. I love that as well. Speaking of that, you obviously had an inflection with him, but you didn't have a chance to know him. We always ask the question, what are your 6 degrees of separation from Walt Disney. Everybody has a degree of separation to Walt Disney. Where would yours be?
I have one. I'm 1 degree away.
Nice.
Um, yeah. So there's a woman named Kay Mallins, and Kay lives in Marceline, Missouri, and she lives in Walt Disney's house, his farmhouse, where he grew up. Where he, when they moved to Marceline, she owns his house and she runs the museum in town. And she met Walt numerous times, and he slept in her bedroom. And so there's a long story, but he ends up, he went back to Marceline and he needed a place to stay. This is in the 50s, and he wanted to stay somewhere that had air conditioning. And the only house in town that had air conditioning was her home. She was a little girl. So he spent the night in her house, and her parents and Walt became friends. And yeah, so that's sort of my one way
That
into
is very
to
cool.
Walt.
Got
And
goosebumps.
she runs the museum, and she lives on his farm, and it's pretty amazing. It's a cool
I
gig.
absolutely love that. Disney princesses, how many members of the Disney family have you gotten to meet?
Zero, none.
Okay.
I haven't met a single one.
Okay. The barn is
Yeah.
so cool. The Gray Stuff. That's another great channel name. The Gray. So many great channel names tonight. The Gray Stuff says the barn is so cool. Okay. Let me ask you this as we finish up before I throw it over to you for a final thought of the night. If you could sit down right now and do something, you could ride rides, you could have dinner, you could interview, you could go to a movie, you could do whatever you wanted to do with Walt and Roy. You got one night where, for some miraculous, act of God, that was able to happen. What would be Aaron H. Goldberg's Walt Disney and Roy Disney night?
I think I'd like to ride the original Carousel of Progress with them. Just sit down, Walt on one side, Roy on the other. Let's do the Carousel of Progress and just kind of hang out and
That is
you
very
know
cool.
shoot. I think that'd be cool.
I absolutely love that. Absolutely love it. All right, as we finish up tonight, I'm going to throw it over to my guest from his side of the original Carousel of Progress for your final thought of the night.
Oh, well, I think finally, for first and foremost, I apologize for the internet connection. So Pete, we have to do this one more time. We got to do this again. We need a part two
Okay.
to reboot here for the internet issues. I don't know what was going on, but that bothered me that we weren't able to go fluid here. And I hope. I'd like to ride pirates too. That would be pretty cool too. Get sidetracked there. But listen, I think we all love Disney here. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think we got to get on social media and kind of block out some of the noise with, do your thing and don't listen to what everybody else has to say. And if they don't like something, they don't like it. I mean, none of us like change. None of us like, we sort of have that's one of the things about, like, I think Disney's like the biggest purveyor of nostalgia. I mean, that's what gets all of us. So just soak it up and enjoy it, and one day at a time.
I love it. Well, I will first, on as far as my closing statements, I will first say 100%. I will definitely commit to a part two. We can work that out when we get done this interview here. We're already getting people in the chat saying they'd like to come back. So if you want to make sure you don't miss part two, make sure that you've done the one thing, and that's hit that subscribe so that you are able to find out my announcements for when we do it. From my vantage point, people that bring magic from Disney, Walt, we are lucky as a community that someone somewhere got kicked, got pushed, got shoved, got fought, got bit, had everything done to him to knock him down. They were taking his business, they were taking his employees, they were taking his creativity, they were taking his life in general away from him. And he could have just given up. Instead, he showed you can get knocked down, dust yourself off, get up, and you can make something of yourself. And that is the biggest message I hope everybody takes from Walt, because he sat and drew a picture of a mouse on a napkin that he called Mortimer, and thank God for his wife, or else we'd all be cheering Mortimer, Mortimer when we go to the parks. Instead, we're cheering Mickey. It's been my pleasure to get to know Aaron during this hour. His knowledge goes without reflection of Disney and how the parks have come together. I highly encourage, if you're going to grab two books right away, start, like Aaron said, with his two. Buying Disney's World is absolutely incredible. The Disney story. If you have kids, think about them for Christmas coming up that love Disney. Get them meet the brothers and let them learn a little bit about Walt and Roy for when they go to the parks. The biggest thing you can do after you read your books, share it with somebody. Tell somebody else, go read it. Don't give them the book. Don't ever give up your book. You might want to go back and reread it. Just tell them to go check it out. It's incredible. I really appreciate you coming on tonight. Next week's guest in the seat will be a Disney artist coming in. Michael Provenza will be joining us next Tuesday night right here on the channel. We're going to talk Disney art with somebody who's a Disney fine art respected artist. And Aaron will be coming back. We'll probably
Absolutely.
talk more pen then. We could talk about how Mousepiration Mike is really late for the interview. We could talk about that. There's all kind of topics we could talk about. I look forward to sitting down with you tonight. Just remember, everybody, as Walt said, your reflection when you go in life, my thoughts are it's very simple. When Walt made his first statement, he said, encompassing the words, everyone, happy place, welcome. Take those 3 words, put them to your life, and I guarantee you it'll be more magical. This has been Disney Celebrating the Arts, one night only. Aaron H. Goldberg. Leave a comment before you go. Aaron, thank you. We'll see you in just a bit. Timon, get us out.
Hello there, this is Timon. We hope you enjoyed the show. It was great having you with us. You were a lovely group, the best audience ever. Now please, get out!
Thanks, Musketeers, for joining the party. We'll be looking for you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye, all.